Hey, hello again. We're gonna go ahead and mix up orange for our color wheel for the orange family. So I'm gonna mix orange, yellow orange, and red orange at the same time so that I can keep the colors evenly spaced and see what they look like when they are wet. Okay, so let's go ahead. So first thing we have to do is we have to pick out what makes orange, which is red and yellow. And again, to keep the colors high key and bright and brilliant, you can see that these earth colors, which are cadmium red and cad yellow medium, pyro red, which is not an earth color, but I do believe that they use iron oxide in some of their paint to make it that beautiful color. Naphthol red and cad yellow also do the same thing, that they're a little bit brown, whereas these guys over here, which are two synthetic colors, they're really bright and vibrant. So I am going to choose Azo yellow and quinacridone red, and we'll see how well we do. So first of all, I want to get all these other paints off of my palette except for the Quin red, so I have room. And I'm going to go ahead and get rid of some of those nerds. So put some yellow out, and I'm going to put some red. Yellow is not as strong a color as the red, even though the quinacridone red is kind of thin and a little bit weak in terms of compared to cadmium. I'm going to put out a good amount of that. And I'm going to spray my palette down because we've gotten lots of nice sunshine out there today. And I want my colors not to dry up right away. So everybody else be gone. And we're going to start with trying to make an orange. And I don't know how orange it's going to turn yet. I didn't think too orange, but the more I mix it up, the more oranger and the more oranger it turns. So here I am mixing up a pretty orange, and that's a little bit light. So I'm going to put yellow over here, and see, that's still a pretty big jump. So I'm going to take some of this, I'm going to put it here, and I'm going to mix some more orange in this, more red in this one, quinacridone red. And here, I'll put that there so you can see what it is. And that's kind of getting to maybe a middle grade orange. And then let's go ahead and add more. Make sure my palette knife's nice and clean. Add more. Doesn't have to be too clean because I'm not going to mix any other colors in besides the family of orange. And I want to look at that, and do remember again that the colors dry darker, so you want to start them out fairly light. I think that's a pretty good jump. Maybe a tiny little bit more orange, but again, remember, it's going to dry darker, and it's surprising how much darker it dries. Okay, one more squirt of water, and then we're going to go off to our red orange. And I'm probably going to put out more paint here. I'll put it over here because it will probably need to be closer to the red orange. And I'm going to go ahead and add some yellow to this. Not too much. And see how that goes. Now, quinacridone red is not the red that I use for my red. So I'm going to find what I used. I believe it was naphthol red. And so I'm going to put a red over here, a nice little squirt of red. Don't mix it into it because it will make it go muddy. So when I look at these guys, I feel like this could go maybe a little bit on the redder side of life. And that's pretty good. These guys still might be a little close. I might be able to add a little bit more darker orange or red orange to that one. And maybe maybe a little bit more to this one. So I'm pushing it just a little bit into the direction that I want it to go. And that feels pretty good. I think that's got a pretty good jump to it, and I had a little bit more in there. Okay, so let's go ahead and pick a color that we're going to make tints and shades to. And since the yellow orange is closer to me, I'm going to go ahead and move these guys back. Not completely out of your view, but back far enough that I can have the table for mixing. Again, don't let your paints dry until you're done. So because once they're dry, you're not matching the color, you're matching the color that it dries to, which is a real hard thing to do because it's basically just guesswork. And a lot of times you guess wrong, or I guess wrong. You probably guess right. So here's my yellow orange, and I'm going to get my zinc white out and put zinc white on here, and I'm going to make it, get that top on, I'm going to make it probably lightest, a little bit darker, and a little bit darker, and I feel like this is pretty close to that, so I'm going to steal some of that. And I'm going to add some of that to here. Try to make it step down more evenly. And I'm going to add some to this one. And make it step down. And because my colors are drying pretty quickly, I'm going to go ahead and paint these on. So I'm going to grab my little color wheel, and I think you guys can still see this where it is. So here's my yellow orange area, and I'm going to go ahead and paint these on. Also give them a chance to dry between me mixing up the shades of this color. There's a little nerd on there. There we go, got it off. And that color's good. Then I always wipe the paint off my paintbrush first, because if I put it right in the water, I like to keep as much paint out of our water system as possible. Once it dries on paper or on a rag, it's pretty inert, and it can't reconstitute back into a liquid form or be diluted. With the exception of watercolors. Watercolors never dry, so even if you wipe it on a rag and put it in your garbage, it will once it gets wet, it will reconstitute and be able to seep into the ground. Looks like I made just enough paint. Happy accident. And again, I twist my brush to kind of get it off the brush because I don't want it in the hairs of the brush. I want it on the paper. Okay, and our last tint. Some of you guys were talking about the texture that the paint makes and that you would like it to go on smooth. I always like the texture of the paint. I like impasto paint. I like having the grooves, and as it dries, it will kind of settle a little bit, not a whole lot. There's stiffeners that you can get to put in your paint to make it really stiff and have lots and lots and lots of textures. There's also additives that you can add to your paint to prevent that from happening, so that it's super smooth. It will settle out and be very, very smooth. So, according to your own preference. And this is good that I'm painting these on here, because I can I know exactly how much paint I have left. I don't know if you guys could see that water droplet that came down from my bristles when I first put this mother yellow orange on, that it diluted the paint as it hit my piece of paper. And there we go. And I am using a round brush so that I can kind of get up to the edges nice and pointy like. Spreading it around. So it is giving it a little bit more textures. If I had a soft flat brush, it might give it a little bit less of the textures. But like I said, I kind of like the textures. And I can make my own little like pattern if I wanted to in the textures, little swirls or eddies, or make it look like fish scales. But it will settle out a little bit as it goes on. And there we have it. So now on for the shades of orange. And I'm going to put the mother color back there. So I have it, and I'm going to scrape up these guys. I think that makes me a little nervous getting rid of them completely, so I'm going to put them back here and still have the color in case I need to match it for some reason. And because they're getting a little stiff, I'm going to give them a little bit of water. And I'm going to move this off to the side, and I'm going to scrape down my work area. When my razor scraper starts making kind of like little patterns, it's time to get a new blade. And you can see it when I have a big pile of paint at the end. I'll let you know if I get a new blade. Okay, so now we're going to add black. And because it's kind of a light yellow-orange, I'm going to add a little bit of alizarin crimson to to my black because I don't want it to turn green. So we'll see how this works. I might have to add a little bit more because it looks black. It's still black, and maybe just right now I am going to add a little bit more because I want it to be kind of like a blackish purple. Not to be mixed into our Naphthol red here. Matter of fact, I don't think I need that Naphthol red right here, right now. And so we'll go ahead and make sure it doesn't try to climb in there and mess things up. All right, so now we got a kind of a purplish black. And we're ready to mix. So, here we go. I'm going to go ahead and take some of this, and I'm going to go ahead and add some of this just off to the side and make a huge pile. And you know what? It's kind of turning green. Can you see that? So I'm going to go ahead and add more alizarin to that. Never can have too much alizarin, unless it's like straight alizarin. But I don't want it to go green. And so, because I'm making black, I'm going to go ahead and put this back in that pile and mix it up maybe with another just tiny shot to get it equal to the other. And you know what? This is not a very pretty color in my book, but I still want it to kind of go a golden or a darker orange, not green. Because if it went green, it's changing its family name. It's changing its hue from yellow to green. So let's go ahead and try this again. See what we can do. And we're going to add some, oh, that's much more kind of like what I would think of as pukey shade of orange. Okay, I really didn't say that. So I'm going to go ahead and add more to this, get it a little bigger pile. And see how we're not going green anymore? We're definitely not in the Duck Fan Club right now. And remember that we already have our mother color yellow orange down there, so we don't have to worry about having too much left of that. And I'm going to go ahead and grab one more pile here. And I want to keep this down because I want to keep understanding what the original color was. And I feel like I can use that whole pile. Don't worry, I've got some more up there. Well, I'm not worried. And what do you think about that jump? I feel like this one's a little bit dark, so I'm going to cut it down because I don't need very much of it. And I'm going to cut it down, and I'm going to add some of this to it. And my colors are getting a little bit dry. So I'm going to go ahead and find out how that mixture worked. And I think that works pretty good. Let me put this next to here and see how that jump works. And it looks great. So I'm going to go ahead and clean up an area to put my color wheel. And I'm going to keep this in case I need it for my orange, which I probably won't because orange has a lot more red in it and it usually tends not to turn green, but you never know. I might make it really light and a brilliance to it that it wants to turn green. Okay, so back with our color wheel, and our orange isn't quite dry yet. So I'm going to make some room. Squirt, squirt, squirt. Squirt. Clean. And I'm going to go ahead and get some paper towels and some water. And I'm going to start from the first one down. That orange that's on there, the yellow orange that's on there, is already starting to dry. So it's kind of made its final color. Oh. And I can use my palette knife to scrape this up into a bigger pile so I can get it on to the paper in a nice thick way. I like that little technique of twisting your brush so you get the paint off of it and out of it, and then you can spread it around. You know, paint is really nothing more than colored clay, colored dirt. It's got a lot of dirt properties, and the original, very, very first paints in the whole world was mud, painted on cave walls. And then we started finding minerals that we could dig and mix with to make the rich and brilliant colors that we have today. That's pretty cool. I think paint makes me very happy because I really, really, really like colors. So I'm not so worried about over here because I'm going to cut that off. I don't care it being straggly. And here's our shade number 2. For me, there's something super satisfying about mixing paint and painting. It's relaxing, and it's I think that if you push it really hard and try to be really, really exacting about it, which I am, but I'm also kind of letting it flow a little bit, then it's kind of, I think that there's a sense of zen to mixing paints into painting that is really nice and very soothing and relaxing to me. See if you guys can see this a little better. I also think that really good painters could make very phenomenal surgeons, because we have to, we're so careful with that hand-eye movement. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and turn the video off, and then I'm going to come back and do my mixing of my mother orange.